Hello, welcome back McFly subscribers. So this is what we're going to be tying today. It's a brown shrimp. I've seen quite a few of these style shrimps on social media and I thought I'd give it a try myself. I didn't do it exactly like some of these others, but I think it came out pretty nice. Let's get to it. We're going to place the hook securely in the vise. And the hook I'm using today is Risen's O'Shaughnessy, I think it's pronounced, hooks in size 4. These are really good, strong hooks, guys, and fairly sharp. So, I mean, for the money, they're really hard to beat. And the thread I'm using is Viva 6/0 in brown. And we're just going to start the thread right up semi-close to the eye of the hook. You can break or trim off the waist. Then we're going to bring this down a little bit into the bend of the hook and back up. Make a nice thread base there. Then I've got Grizzly Marabou. Whiting Chickaboo works just the same. This is what I had. It's all the same stuff. Basically marabou from a chicken rather than a turkey. So I pulled off 3 of these and I'm just aligning the tips rough. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to wet it, bring it all together, and that's what we're left with. And I don't need this super long. I want it actually quite short. We'll just start there. And I'm going to bring this down a little bit into the bend, as you can see there. So it's kind of angling a little bit down instead of straight. And then we're going to wrap this partially up. And then we're going to cut this off kind of at an angle. We're just creating a taper, basically. Gonna work the thread through there, clean all that up. Next I've got this, and it's actually a whiting tailing pack, as you can see, but it's Coq de Leon feathers, CDL feathers, the roosters, and I use these a lot for the tails of flies, like nymphs. It's gonna work great for this. So pull off one. As you can see, this has some really nice modeling to it, so that's gonna work perfectly for what we need. And we're going to strip back the fibers out of the tip. We'll cut that tip off a little bit. We'll tie that tip in like so. And then we can stroke the fibers up and then rearward a bit. I'm going to make a couple wraps with this. It's going to twist on you and it really doesn't matter. Alright, so I did 4 wraps. Wrap over it once and then pull everything back. Wrap back up on it. Come in with some really fine point scissors to get in tight. What I'm using is Risen's mitten scissors here. So allows you to get in super tight, the really fine points. We're gonna stroke everything back. We'll wrap back on it. What we're doing is we're just kind of building that little head there. All right, next I've got this Starburst fiber and tan. If you're gonna tie this in a different color, that's fine. You can use a different color of the fiber. Starburst fiber is basically the same thing as Ice Dub, just a different brand. So we're going to dub this on fairly loose. We're going to brush it out. It doesn't need to be super tight. We're just going to use that to kind of bring everything together and make a nice little collar, like so. And then I'm going to brush this out. I'm just going to bring in some nice shiny little fibers up by the head, some flash. Now I like taking my bodkin and just kind of picking at it because it likes to wrap around itself. Alright, we're going to wrap back up on that. It's a little thick. So, there we go. Now on this one I use some really small eyes, and after looking at it, I think I want some larger sized eyes. So, by the way, I make my own. Pretty simple to do. So I'm going to tie that in like so. So it's angled out. In mono, when it comes off the spool, you can see it's got kind of like a little bit of a taper up. So that's what we're utilizing here to make sure it's angled outward. We'll fix that in a minute. Now they sell these eyes that are really nice. They're expensive though, but they sell these that are kind of connected and they make the perfect spacing. But they're expensive. And this works just fine. With a little bit of play, you can get it to where you want it. I'm going to wrap this down. Try to keep them aligned properly. To right about there. Some heavier duty scissors here. These are also by Risen, but to cut that mono, I need something a little stronger. You don't need that fine point. There we go. We'll clean that up. Those are locked in. Now you could add a dot of super glue there to really make sure that these stay positioned, but I find that that's not always necessary. Next, we're going to take that same Coq de Leon and we're just going to place that on top like so. We'll stroke the fibers forward. Place that on top. Tie that down. A couple wraps. Now I'm back into those fine points. Okay. Next we need crystal flash. I'm going to pull 2 of these strands out. We'll cut it off. And we're going to make the little antenna with it. And that's going to go out quite a bit further. It's hard to see here. Let me get you guys zoomed out a little. Alright. So we want these to go just maybe about 1.5 to 2 times the length there. We'll tie that down. And come down just a couple wraps to ensure that stays. Cut that off. And then next I got this extra select craft fur tan, I think it is. It's either the tan, it's the sand or tan, something like that. All right, so I cut off a fair amount here. It's about what you want. We're gonna pinch here and we're gonna pull out those under fur, get all that pulled out. And I find if I wet this, keeps it back together. And there we go. Now this is a little too tapered for me, in my opinion. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to come up to the very tip, hold the back, and we'll pull out those pesky long fibers. We'll replace them back in a little closer. And there we go. It's about the right taper. Just to make everything easy and even, we'll cut that extra off the back. Now, I like to wet this, keep everything together, and we are going to have that extend to almost right about to where those antennae are. And we'll wrap up over. So wrap back a little, wet everything, keep it all together. It's gonna make things easier in a minute. Next I got this, what they call saltwater flashabou. It's a wide flashabou, just one strand. We're just gonna tie that in right on the top and try to look at it and make sure it's perfectly even right on top, because that's gonna help later. I want that to be sitting right in the center. Once it is, just tie it down real tight. Next we're gonna come down a couple wraps, make sure it's staying directly on top. We can come back a wrap and pull this back up over like so. We're going to wrap back up, a couple wraps, perfect. And then we want to, there's a little bump here, we're just going to transition that, make it a little smoother. It'll help with the next steps. And also taper this fly too. We want fatter in the front, thinner in the back. Next we want that same CDL feather, and we're just going to stroke back the tip like so until we expose the core. Pull everything rearward. Can cut off the excess feathers and tie that in right there. Okay, and so once that's tied in, come back up like so. Then we need more of this dubbing. You can make this one a little bit tighter, but still we're going to be brushing a lot of it out, so all right. So now we're creating kind of like a little taper with it. Might have too much on there. Nope, came out just right. Alright, so we're wrapping back like so, and we can take this CDL feather. We're going to do the same thing, we're going to stroke the fibers up, and then rearward as we go. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to adjust itself, so. Alright, so now we're just going to open spiral wrap. We don't need to make this super dense on there. Alright, just like so. Once we come to the back, we are going to make one more wrap, stop at the top, capture that with your thread twice, pull everything rearward, and then pull everything rearward and wrap back. Sometimes you get a pesky fiber there like that. Alright, good. Now I'm making quite a few extra wraps. I'm trying to build up that little tail section. I come in with those fine point scissors, clip that feather off. And then we're going to use this brush thing. Ooh, try not to catch that. We're going to brush this down. We'll do more in a minute, but we want to try to bring those fibers down. Alright, so we pull those fibers down, and then I've got this. This is ultra thin or bone dry from Solarez. I'm just gonna put a little bit on with the paintbrush there, built-in brush. Make sure everything's pulled down, and then we can cure it. That's going to ensure that everything stays downward. And any of these pesky fibers, you can just either trim them off or try to push them down a little bit more. Alright, so now if you wet your fingers, so I find if you have a comb, this really helps to kind of make those fibers nice and even. Let's trim off some of these. These are a little bit pesky. Alright, so you want this nice and even on top. Really pull it tight and make one wrap and then a second over it. And then we're gonna lift this a couple times to ensure that that gets compressed and stays right on top, and then we can make a couple more to tighten that, like so. I'm going to bring this up over. It got twisted there on top. That's okay. couple wraps, lock that into place. We're going to pull this up and wrap under it a couple times. We can grab our whip finish tool, place this here, and we'll go ahead and whip finish right under everything. We're going to cut this off close. We're going to pull this tight, and I'm going to trim this off to give ourselves a nice little tail. Oops. Forgot I got to hold it. There we go. There we go. Fanned out that. Gives a nice little tail. That'll help it pop and look pretty cool. Jump around. There we go. Now you could put some dubbing there at the tail, and I did last time, but I elected not to this time. I don't think it's necessarily needed. We are going to put a dot of this resin around there and cure that in. And there we go, guys. Of course, you probably want to make this a little bit more even on top. I got it a little off, but that's okay. And last, we're going to want to just brush this. Be careful not to brush the fiber, this stuff, the craft fur. But brush it down and take it out of your vise. Pull everything forward. There we go. It's a little shrimp. Looks pretty nice. I think it should catch some fish. There's the other one. And see, I like those eyes, the bigger eyes. I think that works out a lot better. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe and also hit that bell notification for future video updates. And also don't forget to check out my sponsor, McFly. They're the ones that made all the scissors that I used today. They also made the hooks. And they make rods and reels and just about anything you need to fly fish. And best off, they're offering you all a discount. So type in McFly at checkout when you go to www.risenfly.com and you'll get 15% off of anything you order on your first order with them. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.